I'm Brian V, and this is Why We Work. Today, I have the great pleasure of speaking with Naresh Vissa. Naresh is an online and digital marketing executive. He is an author. He's also the founder and CEO of Krish Media and Marketing. Today, I want to find out, what does his full service online and digital marketing company do? What do they provide for their customer? Join me today in my conversation with Naresh Vissa. I'm Brian V, and this is Why We Work. Today, I have the great pleasure of speaking with Naresh Vissa. Good day, fine sir.
Good day, fine sir. Pleasure to be on.
Thank you for coming on here. I know that you're in Florida. I'm here in South Korea. It's nice to virtually meet you. Naresh, can you tell me, what industry are you in, and what is it you're doing nowadays?
I run Krish Media and Marketing, which is an online and digital marketing agency. I would say actually it's in the tech industry, not necessarily in the marketing industry, but because we're really more a tech company at the end of the day.
What got you working, Naresh? What would have been your very first job, maybe as a teenager, or it could have been selling lemonade. I mean, looking at your bio, you've had a lot of jobs, you've had a lot of opportunities, and you have a lot of experience. So I'm thinking possibly you might have started early.
I started early at the age of 15.
Nice.
It all began when I took a course called The Apprentice, based on the TV show The Apprentice. That was my introduction to business and to entrepreneurship, to management. So we were faced with tasks like running the school cafeteria, like selling lemonade across the street, and just an incredible. I failed. I did terrible. I don't want to say I did terrible in the class, but in the game that we were playing, I did terrible. I was one of the first people fired. Read the book The Art of the Deal, which led me to read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. And my first internship, thanks to that class, was at a marketing company, not an online and digital marketing company, but it was a traditional marketing and sales company that sold technology and software solutions. So I was just the 16-year-old intern who did the grunt work, helping all the experienced salespeople.
So with the Apprentice course, this was in high school, a course offered by your school?
It was a special course offered by our school for 3 weeks. And it was a very immersive 3-week experience. We spent, that was the only class that I took during those 3 weeks. So
how was that experience? I mean, even though you didn't do well, but how was the experience overall? It seems like it would be very interesting.
Yeah, well, I was only 15 years old when I started. I was 16 by the time the class ended.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if you don't have business experience, you're not going to know what you're doing. You're not going to know how to manage people. And overall, even though I didn't do well, it was an incredible experience. And it was after that class that I said, I want to get into business. I want to get internships. I want to get a degree in business, which I ended up getting degrees, undergrad and master's, in management and business, finance, accounting.
Would you say, Naresh, that by getting fired, it actually helped you?
Oh yeah, for sure. So in that case,
and this is like the game part of it, right? This is not like, oh, Naresh, we don't ever want to see you in our school again. It's just the game.
It's just the game. Yeah. It's just the game. So it helped me in the sense that I knew it was a humbling experience. And look, I've been fired many times since then. Okay. I've been fired from full-time jobs. I've been fired from part-time things. I've been now running my business for the last 8 years. I've been fired by clients. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things about being a business person, an entrepreneur, is you better get used to that, because if you're not able to handle getting fired, you're not going to live. You'll probably end up killing yourself, because being an entrepreneur is kind of like being a masochist. You're just beating yourself up all day, trying to make payroll, trying to earn a living, trying to pay rent. And especially when you're getting started, that's how it was for the first 2 to 3 years.
For when you were 15 and into 16, did you take another job in high school? And what were you starting to think? Because you mentioned college. What were you starting to think about your education and even into your career?
Well, I started working meaning I interned at the market. It was a paid internship, so it was, got paid money over the summer. That was when I
Mhm.
was 16. I could drive because it's hard they're not going to hire 15. If you can't drive, then you're not going to get
Right.
hired. So when I was 16, I could drive, and when I was 17, worked at the same company doing the same stuff. Also taught math and coached basketball when I was 17 and 18. So I was working doing that as well. I was paid to do all that, and so by the time I got to college, it was one of those things that I pursued. I pursued entrepreneurship. I pursued business. I pursued leadership types of experiences, experiential courses. But at the same time, I never compromised my studies. I said, I can do all that, but I'm still going to try to graduate, magna cum laude and try to go to graduate school, which I did. I still did all that on the side. There were side hustles. I even had jobs working on Wall Street. I worked for big Wall Street bank, doing all this stuff on the side, what was just a side hustle. And then worked for the largest financial publisher in the world full time, started their online radio division. And while I was there, learned a ton more. That was the light bulb that went off in my mind that said, hey, you know what? I could go out on my own and do my own thing and be just fine.
But
So,
at this young age, and you don't find it a lot, I didn't find it with myself. What was driving you at this, to get into that course? Maybe it was a requirement, but to get these, but you also said you had a vision, you had a purpose, you were not going to be stopped. You were going to get your master's. When I was younger, that wasn't a goal for me, and that's not a goal for a lot of people. What was driving you, maybe with the education and with your determination to start your career?
well, the bottom line is I am somebody who likes to succeed at no matter what it is that I do, whether it's working, whether it's school, no matter what it is. I like to succeed. I don't like to fail, and I have failed a lot. And what happens with those failures, I don't just walk away from those failures. I use those failures as teaching tools so that I can be better. A lot of this just has to do with a spiritual philosophy of, in my religion, it's called Dharma, or Dharma as people call it, of maximizing knowledge attainment and just maximizing life itself. And so that's what drives me every day in everything that I do, whether it's playing with my son and teaching him how to walk. He's only 1 years old, or um, working on my business and growing it. Businesses now.
So as you went through, you had some interesting experiences. I see the Houston Astros, the Rockets, Biz Radio,
Yep.
as you mentioned, JD Morgan. You have a lot of experience and you kind of meandered through. How did you eventually come to your own business at
Well, like I
Krish
said, it was
Media?
that full-time job out of graduate school working at the largest financial marketing, financial publishing company in the world. That's where the light bulb went off, and I said I'm ready to make that jump within the next 5 years. And I did end up making that jump about a year and a half later. And it initially was, let's just try this for a year, see how it goes. After a year, excellent year. It's like I gave myself a 20% raise. So let's say, okay, let's try it for another year. Tried it for another year. Not as good as the first year, but still pretty good, better than a full-time job. So I said, all right, let's try it for another year. After the third year, there was a bit of stagnation. And I said, all right, well, stagnation's okay. I mean, I'm still making a living. I still have money to save that's left over. Let's try it for another year. Tried it for the other year. And that's when I said, you know what? I'm never going to even think about leaving this again. Like I've found my niche and things are going well and I am good for the next 5 years. But knowing that the next recession would probably create a new breed of 20 something entrepreneurs would come in and try to put me out of business. I said, I need to diversify and I need to have another stream of income. So I started another business, and that's my real estate business. And I think within the next 2 years, that real estate business is going to overtake Krish Media and Marketing as far as gross revenue goes.
Staying on Krish Media, what is it that your company provides and what is it you do as the CEO of the company? What is the process that you go through?
Well, we're a digital marketing agency. So we provide everything online and digital related, from web design, web development, logo design, affiliate marketing, pay-per-click, podcast production, book publishing, you name it. KrishMediaMarketing.com, KRISH MediaMarketing.com.
What type
You
of
can.
clients are you seeing more often than not?
Our clients range. I mean, obviously, we prefer small and medium-sized businesses. And we have many clients who are in the SMB space, but we get individuals, we get small
Sorry, you
businesses, we
said
get
SMB?
small and medium-sized business.
Yeah, I'm ignorant, so it's helpful to know. But good, yeah.
Yeah. So, but we take on anyone because the services are transferable across all industry, all business sizes.
So how did you start to develop your skills in being, well, one, the CEO, right? The executive that's doing all of this, but where you said finding your niche. So when did you start to develop these skills in particular, and what skills did you need to hone to be in the position you're in now?
Well, a lot of the services that we offer, I grew into them. So Krish Media Marketing only started out as a podcast production and marketing strategy, marketing consulting company. I did a little bit of copywriting and project management as well. But then clients started saying, hey, can you build this website? Can you help us publish this book? Can you do this design work? And instead of saying no and referring them to somebody else, I said, yeah, we can do it. And then I went out and hired somebody who could do it. And that's how I grew the business. That's how we grew. And to answer your question, well, how did I step into this leadership role and develop these skills? I've always been somewhat independent. I think a lot of it came from my childhood sports. I played a lot of sports growing up, and just kind of being raised independently.
Before we start recording, you mentioned, and I asked you, is this kind of a media push, or is this something you kind of do long term? And you said, I like to do this as much as I can. What is the reasoning behind that? And I wonder the question for people, whether they have a podcast, they have their own business, because I think whatever your answer would be, it's good for everyone that has something, a message to tell people.
Well, look, what we're doing right now is an interview that is going to have a pass along effect. What's called a pass along effect. That means 20 years from now, when my son is 21 years old, he can find this interview on the internet and listen to it and get value from it. Right now, he can't. He can't talk. He probably can't listen to much either. But that's what I mean by a pass along effect. It's not just for my kid or my kids, but it's for business. 20 years from now, a business could be listening to this and saying, oh, wow, I really like this guy. I like what his company has. So let me check out his website, krishmediamarketing.com. And, we're in the market for someone to do these services. So yeah, obviously the selfish reason is I want to grow my businesses. I want to get my brand out there. I want to get our company's brand out there. I want somebody to listen and to be like, oh, I want to hire them to do our next website or to do our next online webinar or online conference. That's the number one goal. But these recordings are a great way to spread the word through search engine optimization, SEO, like I said, the pass along effect. Things online don't disappear. I mean, they can disappear, but if you Google my name, that's the thing. A lot of people, even my wife, before we went on our first date, she Googled my name and she saw all these interviews that came up and books and everything. And she was like, oh, wow, okay. He can come pick me up from home. Like he doesn't, like I know who he is. He's got this brand on the internet. So again, I didn't do it for that, but it helps a lot in the business world for sure.
Knowing this is kind of a fast-paced industry, you probably have to be up on your game, but switching over into real estate, this seems more of a patience game. Can you differentiate between the two and how you decided to get into real estate?
Yeah, real estate is more passive, which I like more. I like working little and making more. That should be the goal of everyone. Minimum work, maximum return. And in the case of real estate, it's been amazing because I work like maybe 3 to 4 hours a week, and I'm making well into the 5 figures right now. And I'm looking to double that, make well into the 6 figures within the next 2 years, which I think is very, very possible, very likely. And like I said, real estate is passive. So I'm not waking up every day because I hire property managers. I hire people to do most of my stuff. And I just sit back and collect my rental income. And I have an account. I have bookkeepers who handle my books. And I wish that I realized it when I was younger. When I started Krish Media Marketing, when I was getting it up and running, I was working my butt off. And there are many times I was working 10, 12 hours a day, making next to nothing. And then when I got into real estate, I was like, holy shit, like I'm making more money now, like doing nothing. And I remember all those late nights I had in my apartment in downtown Baltimore, banging my head against the wall because I was wondering, would I make enough money this month to pay the rental or to pay rent. And so huge fan of real estate. I'm very bullish on residential real estate, and I think it's going to continue to do well. And if any of your listeners want to learn more about it, it reduces your tax bill tremendously, please contact me through my website, nareshvissa.com. Say you heard me. I'd be glad to send you a free copy of my book, 50 Shades of Marketing. And if you would like the real estate coaching, I will coach you for free on how you also can become a successful real estate investor.
Is there a particular range of which you're investing in? Is it housing, commercial?
Single family house. Yep. Single family only. Mostly either older properties or new construction properties. And these are cookie cutter homes. They're not luxury homes, not Airbnbs, not short-term rentals. They're cookie cutter, less than 3,000 square feet, less than $150,000. Cookie cutter, those are the most popular types of homes.
It seems like it's a more long-term plan. And that's what it seems like you're going for yourself too.
It is absolutely a long-term plan. I got started when I bought my first property when I was 28 years old with the intention of taking out 30-year fixed rate mortgages so that by the time I was 58, I wasn't even married when I got started. I wasn't even engaged when I bought my first property. But the intention was, okay, if I do end up marrying this person, which I did, and if I end up having children with her, which we have had so far, maybe there's more to come, we'll see. But the idea was, okay, well, 30 years later, my tenant is paying the mortgage and I'm making extra money. And when it's paid off, I'm basically collecting, I could quit Krish Media, I could quit whatever. And just, if I own 20 properties and I'm making $1,000 per property, I mean, you do the math of how much I'm making per month, right? And my goal is to own way more than 20 properties in a matter of 30 years. In fact, I would say that number should be closer to 200 properties within 30 years. And going back to mindset, I don't have this mind, because you asked, how did you become like this? What was the drive? My mindset was, it's not, I want 20 properties and I'm going to retire. It's, okay, we got up to 20. Now we need to get up to 40. Okay, we got up to 40. Now we need to get up to 100. And it's just constantly be working, and just get up to that level. Get up. There is no stopping. You just keep growing. I have a lot of friends who are like, I just need 20 and I'm good. I'm done. But that's not my mentality. It's just kind of killer instinct of just more, keep going.
And it could be common, but from my perspective, it's rare to have a mindset like that, right? To have that drive, especially from being young. And even you having it when you were younger. Do you have a tip for people who are getting into work, maybe considering the apprenticeship class that you took and then switching some of the careers that you said that you've been in, people that have switched jobs or people get into positions? Do you have a tip for them?
My tip is, number one, listen to podcasts like this. There's so much free stuff. I told you, I'll give you my book, 50 Shades of Marketing, for free. On Amazon, they're always, go to the free book section and you'll see lots of free stuff. Soak up information, listen to podcasts, listen to audiobooks. And the one book there, I should say I mentioned some of these books already, but if there are 2 or 3 books that you absolutely should read, read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki and read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Yeah. Those 2 books will change your life. Take notes on them, highlight them, think about them in your sleep, read them every day. Subscribe to their free newsletters on the internet. Just go online to their websites. They probably have a free newsletter. Maybe they have podcasts. Soak those in. Let them become a part of your life. Let them do that. And they will change. It'll change your daily practice, your daily mood, your routines, your relationships with friends, your business, your work ethic. It'll just improve you so much.
All right. Do you find there's a lot of people maybe around you that have the same mentality? Maybe you intentionally hang out with them, but are you finding that, or is it the opposite?
It's kind of the opposite. And that's one of the things. It can be pretty lonely being an entrepreneur. because you find yourself alone. Other people, they go into offices, they work full-time jobs, or they're used to being told what to do. They have a stable paycheck coming in every 2 weeks. It can get very lonely, but you find your niche, you find your crowd. So I found those people. I mean, tens of people, not necessarily where I live, but around the world, who share that same vision and that same passion and mentality that I do. And most of them are older, actually. Quite frankly, people my age, it was a little difficult because when I got started, I was 24 years old. Most people are 24 years old. They're either unemployed or they are working some entry-level job. So I had to grow up pretty quickly and learn how to become friends with 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds.
Knowing that you're busy, and you could probably be a lot more busier if you wanted to be, but you might have some discipline, but also that you have a young child, how are you keeping your work-life choices in check? And what do you do? What is your preferred way of balancing, however that looks,
Well,
life out?
this is taken directly from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. There are 4 areas that I try to implement every day. Number 1 is my mental health, and that is simply exercising my brain. That's reading. I spend about 30 minutes a day reading, at least 30 minutes a day reading good, valuable, value add material, not the nonsense that you see on the news that's just going to try to hit your emotions and
Do
get
you,
you mad and angry.
Naresh, I know of people who do this. Do you pick a bunch of books and read them however you like, or do you go through one at a time?
I went one at a time. Definitely, whether it's movies, TV shows, books, one at a time.
Mhm.
In fact, I do my work one at a time, one email at a time, one project at a time. That's how we operate.
Mhm.
So that's one. It's also being mentally acute. I play a lot of chess. I try to exercise my brain through different ways. Number 2 is spiritual. So I am religious, but you don't have to be religious to be spiritual. Spirituality to me simply is being thankful and giving thanks. I wake up every morning giving thanks. I go to bed every night being thankful, giving thanks. So, and then, like I said, I am religious. I go to the temple every Sunday. Number 3 is physical. To me, this has been, especially during this pandemic, it's been so important. Taking my vitamins, running, doing cardio, playing tennis every day. Every day I do something physical. I might take a day off.
It's hard when you have a baby. I mean, a
Yeah.
little
Well,
bit more challenging.
yeah, sometimes it's that's where you have to get creative. And, I started doing kettlebells with my son, using him as a kettlebell. He loves it.
Yeah, I was like,
you
what?
know?
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's a great idea.
I'll do push-ups sometimes. I'll do a lot of sit-ups. I'll put him on my stomach and try to do some sit-ups with
Mhm.
him. So yeah, you have to get creative, and he enjoys it. He has fun. It's fun to do all that. And then also we have a lot of help. My wife works half the year, and then my in-laws help out a lot. So that's certainly a big help. But then that's a physical side of it, and then the emotional side is, look, all 4 of these are incredibly important. They're all equally important. But the emotional side is getting rid of bad people from your life, people who bring you down, people who take away from your mind, people who affect your thinking. You just get rid of them. Just get rid of it. It's a hard thing to do, especially if you're young. It's very, because you want everyone to like you, and you care so much about who you are, and the way the world views you. But emotional intelligence comes from your ability to only let people into your life who add value to it, who make you happy. And so you combine these 4 areas, put into one, you will find that your time will be managed much more effectively. Your life is going to change for the better.
Naresh, you said that you were fired from, you said several jobs or whatever. Is there a mistake that you made along the way that you learned from the most? Something that you bring forward with you, especially in your new ventures in real estate?
Well, there are several lessons that I learned about being fired, and that was what I'm not cut out to do and what not to do. So one of the things I learned is that I'm not a corporate guy. I'm not a guy who's going to go into a cubicle and slice and dice Excel spreadsheets all day.
Mhm.
That's just, we have people at our company who do that. I hire people to do that. I don't do it. That's not who I am. And so I worked a job doing that, and I found out, okay, that's not who I am. I'm not somebody, what I learned is, it's not proper, it's not good to bring in anything emotional, anything opinionated into a corporate job. Running my own business, look, it comes with a lot of benefits. I can pretty much do whatever I want, say whatever I want with zero repercussion.
Yeah.
That is a huge, huge amount of freedom that most people aspire to accomplish. And I think that's part of the reason why people wonder why the former president of the United States, Mr. Trump, why does he talk like that? How can he talk like that? People are so politically correct. And the reason is pretty simple. It's because that man had his own businesses, and for decades and decades, this level of freedom that he had something that so many people they just hope to attain one day. And so I'm not saying I'm at that level. I'm not saying that by any means, but going back to the whole age thing, and is it hard to find people who are similar, who have similar interests, similar ideas? That's where I am a little bit different, because almost everyone around me, they have to be careful about what they post on their Facebook, what they say in public, keeping their opinions to themselves. And I learned working in corporate, you can't do that. You cannot do that. I was just on a political podcast earlier today, and we talked about this topic. And I said, look, if I was working at the company I was working at 8 years ago, I wouldn't be on here. There's no way I'd get fired.
It's funny, if I've been setting up arrangements with people and asking a couple of people if they'd like to come on, and they have to ask permission.
Yeah.
A release letter. And not only that, I've had some people, some recent, that if you speak with them, they're speaking the jargon of the times. And like it's like there's a checklist of words you have to say nowadays in order to, I don't know, be relevant or what have you. But I'm like, really? Is this what?
In order to be boring. Yeah. In order to be boring and unoriginal. And look, my company takes a personality of me. Any company is going to take the personality of its founder. And that's not my philosophy. Even when I was growing up, I said, I don't understand why people are always coloring inside the lines, why they're, like you gotta think for yourself. You gotta do your own thing. You gotta be innovative. You gotta be creative. And that's one of the problems. The bulk of the world, over 99% of the world, they're part of the sheep. And I'm not a part of that. And if you're not a part of the sheep,
it should be stressed though too. It just, and because you brought up Trump, and it's not anything for or against him, but it just doesn't mean because you have the freedom to do what you want, then you're a jerk, right? That's what people feel like. That's the opposite of, speaking your mind. Like, oh, well, if you're going to speak your mind, then you're not a nice person because you're not living according to everyone else. I don't think that's what you're saying. And I don't, that's certainly not what I believe, but at least you have the freedom to be a jerk if you wanted to be, without all the repercussions in this sort of cancel culture world that we live in.
Well, look, regarding, you bring up a good point, and that is whether it's freedom or it's money, all it's going to do is amplify what you already are. So if you're a good person,
exactly.
I hate using that term. I mean, we're all good people, right? But if you're a person, like who you said, if you're a jerk, before you have the freedom and the money, and then you get the freedom and the money, well, guess what? You're going to be a huge jerk. If you're a very compassionate person before you made all the money and got all the freedom, well, you're going to become even more of a compassionate, nice person after you do that. So I don't think people just get a bunch of freedom and money and then they're like, oh, okay, it's time to be a jerk. No, I don't think it works that way. But there is a certain amount of envy that people see when even the jerks, and they're like, man, he really had to, or she had to do something to get up to that level, to where they're just going around being jerks to everybody, and so that's where the story, that's what your podcast, it seems, is all about. It's that story.
It's funny. I hike up a mountain here in the last few days. I've met the same couple, and the lady, and as I mentioned, in Korea, and her husband asked me directions, and I'm like, I'm a foreigner, and but his wife spoke English, so she's like, oh, hi, where are you from? She was so happy. And then I've seen them 3 times since, and the last time I saw him, she's like, oh, well, Biden's president and, Trump's out. What do you think of that? Like, um, I'm running here. And I was like literally running down the mountain. But I'm like, well, I don't think he did such a bad job. I might not have him over for dinner necessarily if we were having like a very polite conversation about things. Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. But I
He
think he
seems
did.
like a bar type of guy. I'd
Yeah.
go get drinks with him at
I,
the club.
I think he did all right. I mean, history might show that his job was, well, should he have been tweeting as much or speaking as much as he did? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure. Really? Really? You think so? Oh, we think he's horrible. I go, why was he horrible? Because he said, oh yes, about all those women. I go, if I was a billionaire and I was this guy, maybe I'd be the same thing. I go, you probably be the same way too. And we probably think a lot of the same things, but it's so much easier to point our fingers and say, look how bad he is without looking at our own hearts. And she really quickly went, yeah, you're right. In my heart, I'm the same. I'm like, you're right. When we realize we're pretty much the same as these people, and if we were in these people's shoes, we would be, if not the same, worse. So with
Well,
her,
these people are put on pedestals. It's why Hollywood actors and actresses are idolized. It's why people watch all these TV shows and award shows. It's because these people are idolized. They're put on pedestals. And if you're gonna be, if you attain that status, the criticism comes with it. No matter who you are, whether you're Joe Biden or you're Trump or you're the Mother Teresa. I mean, you can read about all her criticisms. She's supposed to be one of the nicest people. And the Dalai Lama, same thing. So Jesus was like the greatest man ever in human history.
and they killed him.
And they killed him. Martin Luther King, one of the greatest
Exactly.
African Americans.
And they killed him.
They killed him. Gandhi, one of the fathers of my country, one of the greatest men. Not only did they kill him, but they just took down his statues in a couple of places around the world.
Everyone, be nice, be nice. And then when you're nice, they kill you. Okay. As you said, following the sheep. I saw a little comic strip or whatever it was. I don't know if they're black sheep, but the voice was saying, you guys are going the wrong way. And all the sheep were going off the edge of the cliff. And like, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And they're falling over the edge.
Well, speaking of black sheep, I just found out today, this is random, but I was watching one of those baby YouTube sing-along videos. I wasn't watching it. I was just doing work and listening, and Baba Black Sheep came on. And it's now called Baba Boss Sheep. They changed it because black sheep is racist. So there's no more black sheep. It's gone.
I have a nursery rhyme book. I have students. I sing it to almost every other day. Really? I didn't know.
It's now Baba. If you're in the United States and you say Baba Black Sheep, you could have some cultural Marxists coming after you saying that you should get fired from your job. So just FYI.
I don't know what to think of that. What about the black sheep?
They're gone. They've gone down the memory hole.
Swans?
I think that's okay. I just learned. I mean, thanks to my son, I just learned about this black sheep thing today. So, in fact, he's going to grow up not even knowing that black sheep existed. So,
no, because we have the freedom to know these things and to do with them as we will. That's how we'll raise our children, right? And I think it's being aware of what's going on, but understanding if there's actually any logic behind it, right? And maybe I need to look into the song before I comment on it. Like if the author's intention was to alienate a whole race of people, then I may have to really consider. But if it was just a song about wool or something, then I might not jump on that bandwagon.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. But hey, this is changing times. There's a lot that's changing in a matter of the past couple of weeks. The past year, there's been a lot that's changed.
The one thing I don't get, and this is a little bit off topic, but it's still regarding work, because in the end it's going to affect our work depending on how we react, is living in Korea, right? Or living in any other country. Canada, being from Canada in North America, these sort of, this is a race issue, are magnified to the point where they're not so magnified in these other countries. To, I think, like in Korea, I'm a foreigner, and any time I go somewhere, I'm like 0.1 of the sample population there, and I don't expect to, like, why don't I have certain representation? Why is there not? This is really rabbit trail, but why am I not allowed to be in government? Why am I not? I don't have that because it's not my culture. This is not
Mhm.
my culture. In other cultures, but where Canada and the United States kind of mesh everything together, which is perfectly fine. But then there's an expectation that, or even a purported idea that, it gets me. It just it rubs me the wrong way how it's can't. United States is the best and biggest place. Love it, wonderful. Canada is great, but it's like this is the jumping point for how the rest of the world feels. I don't think the rest of the world feels the same way. And it's not like if we talk about racism or something, like Korea, for instance, Korea in history had a problem with Japan. They generally strongly dislike Japan, right? It's a cultural thing, but there's a lot of people that don't. So we can't say, I don't know. You might have other examples of how this, it just makes it very hard to live if you have to stay inside the borders because you don't know when you're crossing them. Your freedom is being taken, and I think it's not doing service to people to be able to make mistakes. Like even if what I'm saying right now, I saw a lady the other day. She had 25 million followers, and I got to interview her mom, and I didn't know her mom was her mom. I didn't know her daughter was the daughter. I had no idea of a connection. I didn't know about the girl until I met the mom. But just this year, some videos came out where she she painted her face a little too. She is Caucasian, and she was representing a famous singer who happens to be African American, and she just put makeup on, and then that was considered blackface. And the other thing was she did something, a song, which was, in my opinion, from my religious view, they're a little crass, right? Like they're a little crude, but her joke was a joke. And there was a third one that she did something that I can't remember, but she had to she decided to, whatever, cancel her whole channel. So she's now off the internet. She had 25 million. She had lots of money, lots of sponsors, and she canceled it because of those things. But then I find there's other sides of coins that are perfectly fine. So there's more of like a hypocrisy that's going on with this cancel culture sort of thing. And while, as we said, very nice people are getting killed, and I think some people are allowed the freedom to say what they want and do what they want, while other people are not. And I just don't think, I think it's a little hypocritical, and a lot of things are allowed to be said while other things aren't. And I think if you put one versus the other, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Look, you bring up, and yeah, this is a little off topic, but it's important. A friend of mine, he spent his entire life making this movie, and the movie came out, and it's a little debatable. But look, it's a movie. It's a fiction movie. Okay, it's fiction. There's no pornography or anything like that, and it's about a man who marries his dog, or like he's trying to marry his dog. All right. Now, do I like dogs? No, I don't. I don't like pets. I didn't grow up around them. They shed everywhere and they drool, and I don't like pets. Okay. But, and I get a lot of flack from people. Oh, you don't like dogs? How could you not like dogs? They're the sweetest things in the world, and this and that. And, you're not a good person for not liking dogs. But this man made a movie about a man who loves his dog and wants to marry his dog. Okay. And to me, it's okay. It's a creative idea. It's fiction. It's a movie. You make it, and if there's a market for it, if people want to watch, I actually want to watch it. It's just because
Yeah.
it's interesting. I don't agree. Like I said, I would never want to marry a dog. I don't like dogs, but I'll watch a movie. Sounds interesting. Well, it got canceled. Canceled meaning at a film festival it was supposed to be in, they removed it, and then they outed this guy as a homophobe because the underlying theme apparently is he's trying to equate it to gay marriage and some. But look, I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
The point is, watch the movie and make that form that opinion for yourself. And if you hate it, if you think it's homophobic or whatever, you can write a bad review about it and let the free market work itself out. But by suppressing it altogether and saying this is not allowed to come out, I got problems with that. I don't agree with the politics. I don't agree with with marrying a dog or liking a dog. I don't agree with the ideology. But I do believe that the First Amendment is very clear, and this does not violate any First Amendment terms. And so let the movie come out. I'm upset that this man who put his life into this movie even won a film festival, like best audience film or something. I'm upset that now his movie's probably never going to see any screen.
Light of day. That's what this girl, I only saw her apology video, and I'm sure I wouldn't subscribe, and I'm sure I wouldn't enjoy any of her videos. The things that she said were like, I wouldn't show my kids.
Yeah.
But let her speak. Like, do you know, like I watch Netflix and I've been watching comedy. I have a new interest in comedy, and some of the stuff that's said on there is pretty outlandish. And for someone to be canceled because of, and it, those pedestals, if someone, there is some canceling of comedians and hushing up of comedians, but there's others that are out there that they get away with a lot. And then for someone else not to be allowed to say something else just because of whatever it is, it just rubs the wrong way. And I think it's unfair to that poor girl, right? And I don't support her. I've never watched any of her videos, but I know from the clips that she showed in her apology, really? You're canceled for this? Like, what about all the other people saying all these other things about?
I got canceled last year. 2020 was a very politically charged year, and talking about reaching that level of freedom, I got canceled because I went on a webinar speaking alongside the senator of Mississippi, and I shared with her my concerns with Marxism and democratic cultural Marxism and the future, and how much the future will change as far as the end of grammar, the beginning of newspeak, which we're already seeing. Rutgers University, they amended their English grammar courses. How do you amend English grammar? How do you do canceling math? There's a school that, and now more schools are getting rid. Already the SAT is gone, and they want to cancel math because math is apparently racist. It's discriminatory. Not everybody is able to do it. Getting rid of grades because grades are racist and discriminatory. To me, this is all part of cultural Marxism to create a proletariat society of just nothing but proletariat. And
see, you're good. You can articulate what I was trying to say at the beginning, because this is not happening in Korea, right? There's other things happening in other countries that are not good, but this sort of cancel, like, I'm an ESL teacher. How do I explain this to my students that these pronouns don't work here anymore? We can't use them. Like how does
Congress
this work?
just did that. Congress just passed a rule saying during the House meetings, you are not allowed to call people by him or her or mother or father or dad or mom or grandfather, grandmother, daughter, son. You're not allowed to do that. It was in the first session of the year. This was on the form. It said, and they voted and it passed. So they're not, I am not a father. I am not a husband. I am not a man. I am a person. I am a spouse.
If this was a good thing, I would be on board, right? Like if it was a good thing, okay, there's people walking around poking themselves in the eye with needles. They're just doing it. I don't know what they're doing, but they're just keep doing it. And to some degree, we could even let them do that. But just say that there's something going on. Okay, I can agree. We can get people to stop poking themselves in the eye with needles. But this sort of myopic bubble that North America has itself in and trying to create, I really don't believe is going on around the world. People have their own problems, their own issues.
It's ridiculous.
And to go down this path, I think it's just dangerous. I think
It's very dangerous. And I know there are people who actually walk around, and if you call them a woman or a girl, then that's the end. You are attacked as being some kind of a sexist or something else. I don't even know what the proper term is now.
It can't be a sexist because there's no sexist.
Well, that's the other thing, because I was somewhere when I was at a clinic one day, and a woman went up to the secretary and said, "My sex isn't on here." And the woman was like, "Oh, sorry about that. Just create another line and put in what your sex is." And she was very upset. She was like, "You guys need to be more, in tune with things. There are tens of sexes." And I'm listening to this and I'm like, how the heck does I consider myself to be pretty educated, but I can't even tell you how many sexes there are now, because I know for damn sure there aren't two.
Well, and going back to danger, right? I think it's dangerous because there's unfortunately, like you mentioned religion, and I'm a Christian. And I just think that if you allow your borders, your country to disintegrate, there's going to be some other country that is going to just sit back and watch until you implode yourself, and then something's going to happen, whatever that is.
Well,
and I'm not worried. I'm like, okay, I'll take it all. I don't need this world as it is. That's fine. I'll do my work. But there's going to be a country that's going to say, okay, now they're weak enough that we can just walk right in there and take it all over.
well, I think those countries are a part of they're a part of the offense. They're heavily involved right now, and they're on
helping
the
out.
sideline.
Yeah, go ahead.
They're helping out.
Go
and
ahead.
they're absolutely responsible, whether it's this virus, this pandemic, whether it's the cultural Marxism. In fact, the KGB, there was a KGB, the head of the KGB in, I want to say, the early 90s was on 60 Minutes. And I don't know why he did the interview, but he said straight up, he said, the way that you destroy another country is not through warfare. It's by attacking their education systems and brainwashing the children.
I think I saw that interview, or however that was presented not long ago.
Yeah. And you brainwash them so that when they become adults, they are trained to essentially be communists.
Well, isn't that what Hitler said?
Whatever it is.
Didn't Hitler say something like that?
Maybe.
Propaganda start with the youth.
And that's what's happening with the genders. I mean, what was my son's birthday last week, and somebody gifted us a book, and the book has no gender in it. There's no gender in the book. And, I was like, this is pretty cool. I'm not going to burn I don't believe in canceling. I read the book to my son. I showed him the pictures. I showed it to my parents, and interesting book, but overall, look, going back, I got canceled because what I'm saying right now, I said alongside the senator of Mississippi, Cindy Hyde-Smith, and immediately within 2 or 3 days, the radical left came after me and they dug into my background, tried to find the worst stuff they could probably find, which was nothing. I mean, it was embarrassing what they were able to dig up, that I worked for a company that was in a lawsuit. That's what he worked for. He was the director at a company that was sued by the government. Oh, well, wasn't McDonald's sued by the government? Wasn't
I know everyone
every major.
To be fair, however it is, left or right, I think there's lots of people that just want things to be right. They want things to be good.
It's a problem.
They want it is, especially when it doesn't normally always work. It doesn't work out that way, but they want things to be good. So I think there's some, this saying of good intentions, right? A lot of people on whatever side of the aisle, they have good intentions. They want, there's people that might not even agree to what people think, but they're going to allow them to speak their mind, to have whatever they want. And they just want to be loving and caring, right? There's people out there that no matter what side of an aisle, like I'm Canadian, so we don't have Republican, Democrat in that sense, or specifically in how the United States does. But for people, they just want to love one another. And so in order to love one another, you have to accept everything. I like the premise of loving everyone, but I don't know if we can accept everything, because it doesn't work. And it doesn't really work. People are very tolerant of their own views, but not tolerant of other people's. And that makes for the inconsistency and hypocrisy that we see every day.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. And I'm going to continue to fight this good fight. And on the one hand, I was like, oh, if society can dumb down and this concept of newspeak and getting rid of grammar and getting rid of math and memory holing, and it sounds terrible, but then it's like, well, if you're someone like me, I'm not going to raise my kid like that. So we're at an advantage because I'm not a part of the sheep, right? So, but then at the same time, you don't want society to go down like that. Because it's not about
me. The funny thing, you mentioned sheep. And when I started this part, I said about the sheep, but the black sheep was the good sheep, just saying don't go where all these other sheep are going, right?
Yes.
It's not always used in a negative. And
yes.
So it's funny because I remember, okay, this sheep is standing its ground and everyone just stop. But all these white sheep are going over the edge like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But now I better call the animator.
Yeah. So it is what it is, man. It's been good coming on the show. Great conversation.
What about character for you in industry? What is a top character trait that you find is most important? I mean, we're talking about character.
To me, the most important thing is transparency. And transparency, I can't stand these snake oil salesmen who are really nice to someone who just comes up to you and starts being really nice. And to me, it's not real. You can't be nice 100% of the time. Just be yourself. Just be a regular person and share the commentary. Don't be a freaking robot. I can't stand people who are like that, and they don't do very well over the long haul. So just be genuine. I think that's the most important thing. If being genuine means that you're, like you said earlier, I don't remember the term you use, an asshole or a jerk. I think jerk. Jerk. Yeah. If that, then hey, at least you're genuine about it. Don't be someone who you're not.
I only have a couple more questions. I don't know if you have a baby emergency or anything like that, but what is a goal that you have for your company? An overarching goal?
As far as my real estate company goes, my goal is to double the number of properties we have within the next 2 years.
That's a pretty good goal. It'd be good to be on your team. Naresh, is there anything people may not understand about you so they can have a better appreciation of the work that you're accomplishing?
That's for other people to decide for themselves. I can't speak for them, but I keep bringing this analogy of the sheep back, and I just want people to know I don't think I'm a part of the sheep. Maybe I am, but I've been told that I'm not. So if there's a misunderstanding, it's just look, understand I'm not a member of the herd.
Is in my final major question about adversity. Have you faced any adversity in your life where you can encourage other people in the adversity that they face?
Absolutely. You're going to face adversity throughout your life. I faced it. Whether it's in school, not doing well in school, or personal problems, family issues, health issues, marital issues, child issues, you're going to face adversity. If you're not going to face, if you don't face any adversity, congratulations, because it's going to be coming soon. So when you do face it, just understand this is all a part of life and keep going. Going. Resiliency is such an important part of success. Don't be someone who just walks away, who fails and says, I quit. You want to be resilient and you want to come back even stronger.
Naresh, how can people reach you?
NareshVissa.com. Get on my mailing list. I'll be glad to send you a free copy of my book, 50 Shades of Marketing. Go on Amazon, type in my name, Naresh Vissa. You can see all the books available there. And also, my company's website, krishmediamarketing.com, Krish mediamarketing.com.
Naresh, one final question for you. Why do you work?
I work because it's a part of who I am. I believe that, number one, I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, but I also believe that I have a duty to society to continue to work, to create value, to employ people, to put money, not just in my pocket, but in other people's pockets as well, and improve their lives.
Naresh Vissa, CEO, founder of Krish Media and Marketing. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate the work that you do.
Brian, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.